King Charles and his wife, Queen Camilla, spent 4 days in the U.S. officially to celebrate America's upcoming 250th birthday, but of course there was a lot at stake when it comes to US-UK relations. What happens when the King of England steps onto American soil? Not for a quiet diplomatic handshake, but for a visit that would send shockwaves from Washington, D.C. all the way to Westminster. The world held its breath. Cameras flashed, crowds roared, and in one extraordinary moment, history didn't just repeat itself, it rewrote itself entirely. To understand why this visit was so shocking, so utterly unprecedented in its scope and symbolism, you have to understand the complicated, centuries-long relationship between Britain and America. It began with rebellion. In 1776, 13 colonies looked at the British Crown and said, "Enough." They fought a war. They bled for independence. They built a nation deliberately free from kings and queens. And yet, here we are, nearly 250 years later. Two nations bonded by language, culture, trade, and what politicians love to call the special relationship. A relationship that in recent years has been tested by Brexit fallout, shifting geopolitics, and the turbulent winds of a changing world order. King Charles III is not a man who courts controversy easily. A monarch who spent over 7 decades in waiting, who inherited the crown after the passing of his beloved mother, Queen Elizabeth II. He has walked a careful line between tradition and modernity. But when word broke that King Charles was planning not just a routine diplomatic stop, but a full, sweeping, multi-city visit to the United States, the reaction was immediate. The internet exploded. Headlines screamed, analysts scrambled, and the question on everyone's lips was simple. Why now? And why like this? The announcement came without much warning. Which, for a royal visit of this magnitude, was itself unusual. Buckingham Palace confirmed that His Majesty King Charles III would undertake an official state visit to the United States of America. Not a brief layover. Not a private engagement. A full state visit, the highest level of diplomatic honor one nation can bestow upon another. The last time a British monarch made a state visit to America was in 1991, when Queen Elizabeth II addressed a joint session of Congress. A moment that is still talked about in diplomatic circles decades later. Before that, her 1957 visit during the Eisenhower era. King Charles's visit, it was shaping up to be something altogether different. The itinerary, when it began leaking, raised eyebrows. This wasn't a simple Rose Garden photo op. The king was set to address Congress. He was scheduled to meet with community leaders, climate advocates, indigenous representatives, and technology pioneers. He was going to speak, not just wave. The welcome on the south lawn of the White House was a spectacle unlike anything seen in years. The full ceremonial artillery salute. The fife and drum corps. The stars and stripes flying alongside the royal standard. For a republic born out of revolution against a king, the pageantry was, to put it mildly, extraordinary. The President of the United States stood beside King Charles. In a moment rich with irony and history, extended the full honor of the American state to the British crown. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. In his welcoming remarks, the President spoke of shared values, democracy, freedom, the rule of law. He spoke of allies who stand together in uncertain times. He called King Charles a man of deep conscience and conviction. And King Charles, measured, warm, and precise as ever, responded with words that would be quoted around the world. The crowd erupted. Even veteran Washington correspondents, not easily moved, admitted there was something genuinely electric in the air. UT was an address to Congress that truly shocked the world. Standing in the same chamber where Lincoln was mourned, where Churchill rallied the free world, where Nelson Mandela inspired a generation, King Charles III took the podium. He did not come to flatter. He did not come to simply smile and shake hands. King Charles came with a message, one that was bold, urgent, and deeply personal. He spoke about climate change, his lifelong cause, with a directness that left many lawmakers visibly uncomfortable. He called on the world's most powerful nation to lead with urgency, not just intention. He spoke about the responsibility that power carries. He made no partisan endorsements, but the weight of his words was undeniable. The chamber was split. Some lawmakers rose to their feet immediately. Others sat, arms folded. It was democracy in its rawest form, a king speaking truth to a republic. Within 10 minutes, clips of his speech were circulating globally. In London, people watched from pubs and living rooms. In Nairobi, Delhi, Sydney, Tokyo, the speech trended. Opinion was divided, passionate, and loud. Some called it the most important speech by a British monarch on foreign soil in living memory. Others said a king had no business lecturing a democracy. But everyone was talking about it. From Washington, the visit moved to New York. And here, the tone shifted dramatically. Away from the marble halls of power, King Charles walked the streets. He visited community gardens in the Bronx. He met with young climate activists in Brooklyn. He stopped at a small bakery in Queens. And in what became the most shared image of the entire trip, he was photographed laughing genuinely with an elderly woman who had no idea who he was until her granddaughter told her. That image, a king laughing, unguarded, human, did more for the British monarchy's image in America than 1,000 press releases ever could. New Yorkers, famously hard to impress, found themselves impressed. Social media filled with videos of people saying things like, "I didn't expect to like him, but he seems real. And he actually listened to us." That's rare, even from our own politicians. Back home in the United Kingdom, reaction was just as intense, though far more divided. Monarchists celebrated. Republican critics questioned. Constitutional scholars debated whether a king had overstepped by wading so deeply into policy territory on foreign soil. In Europe, leaders watched with quiet fascination. In Commonwealth nations, from Canada to Australia, from Jamaica to Kenya, people saw their own complex relationships with the crown reflected in this extraordinary week. And in diplomatic circles, the consensus was clear. Whatever one thought of the monarchy, King Charles III had just made a geopolitical statement that no press release could replicate. He had shown that the crown was not a relic. It was a living instrument of soft power. One that could walk into the most powerful republic on earth and command a room. Charles's. It was about identity, Britain's, America's, and a monarchy's place in a world that often seems to have little patience for old institutions. But perhaps that is precisely why it shocked the world. Because in a moment defined by division, noise, and cynicism, a king walked into the heart of a republic, spoke honestly, listened genuinely, and reminded us that sometimes the oldest symbols can carry the newest truths. History watched, the world reacted, and King Charles III made clear that the crown, his crown, had something left to say. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe for more world-shocking stories, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload.